Welcome everyone. Who's ready to mastermind for purpose? Yeah. Woo. To all of our friends online, hello, I'm Ron. We have had the privilege of meeting most of you. And to those on site here, again, I'm Ron, and thank you so much for joining BESThq's Mastermind for Purpose. We are hybrid, having a good time here at our friends from Central Station Taps, our place here, in which this is our second Mastermind for Purpose at this location. We love it here. We're glad you joined either online or here on site, and we're most excited to make this venue available for others. And also, we are recording, so you'll be able to see this and see your good work, because this is about masterminding, coming together, sharing one of our most important assets. That is our mind in community, connecting, getting to know some other great folks, and making a little bit of a difference together. So again, our program here is pretty simple. Mastermind is really about sharing and connecting and growing. So we have a very brief introduction. If you can go ahead to the next slide. And there's our program. We're going to start with a little bit of welcome and why we do this. After that, I'm going to go ahead and we'll have introductions. So that'll give a chance to know who is here and who you're going to be able to hang out with here for the next bit. And then we have a very special guest as well as a topic that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts, that of affordable housing. And our guest is Vision Mortgage Group. So excited to have them join us today and provide that expert perspective to help us all navigate this incredibly important topic that touches all of us and gives us an opportunity at various levels to engage and hopefully make a difference with our work. So with that, and then after we hear from Vision on some of the perspective around affordable housing and different options, what we're going to do is break out into sessions that would allow us to have more individual online experience, but as well as on site here, masterminding, talking about ideas of how we can help deal with this issue of affordable housing. And then we'll come back and report out about 5:30. And in the meantime, you're going to probably meet some folks if you haven't known already. We hope that you continue to develop those relationships and go and make a difference. So again, I'm going to raise the pint and say, hey, welcome. Why we do this is because of that mind that we have and how we can share it. We have so many different opportunities to share in different ways with our work and masterminding and looking at different activities. We can kind of go next level. James, on the next slide, we're going to just, if you haven't already checked out besthq.net, I'll encourage you to do that. Our vision back in 2020 was to identify the quadruple bottom line as a focus of the community, the small businesses and large businesses and other organizations that are connected, for-profit, nonprofit, with this whole look at the quadruple bottom line: people, profit, planet, purpose. That's the essence of who we are and what we're doing. And love for you to dive in. We have some members here and online, and we encourage those who with a similar ethic to connect and grow together. We're going to start with thanks to our hosts here, Central Station Taps in Beaverton, right next to the Beaverton Central Max station, right across the street on Rose Beachy Avenue. Our great friends Bill and Mary Beth Buffum actually started this small business a month after this thing called a pandemic hit. Anybody know about that? About when that happened? Yeah, we do. It was February of 2020 when they started this. So we're really excited to lift them up. If you haven't already checked it out, I know there's a few folks here on site today, first timers. It's a great place, great family hangout, and we're so grateful that they're nice enough to have us as a guest. And then, of course, our sponsor, we're going to hear from in a bit here, Vision Mortgage Group. I've checked them out, and really a very well-aligned approach in terms of working with the mortgage, your mortgages, and all their clients in terms of how we bring purpose forward with our community enterprise development. And I'll encourage you to, well, we're going to hear from them. I'll encourage you to check them out. They're actually going to help us continue this program forward by sponsoring. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is our introductions. So who is in the room? Before we go back one, James, thank you. Who is in the room? Go ahead and take off the slide share. We're going to get big on the big screen. And we're going to start online. Start online. If you can say who you are, what you do, and maybe your biggest affordable housing moment. But you got to keep it to like 15 seconds. Like you got locked out of your house and you had to pay your neighbor $100 just to get into your house. I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. We're going to dive deeper, but yeah, a story on affordable housing. So let's start with our amazing host here, the executive director of Serving Our Neighbors, our online host, Mr. James Autry. Thank you so much for your years of partnership.
Yes,
you want who you are, what you do, and kick off and lead the online introductions.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I'm James Autry with Serving Our Neighbors, strategic partner with BESThq, as well as on the advisory board, and just been helping out with special events and just having a lot of fun and engaging our communities together. So one of our big projects that we have are still working on is the Bobby Lakes Hope Center, which is the repurposing of the Wapato corrections facility from Multnomah County that they built, and then it sat empty for 16 years. And so it's all about getting folks that are houseless into a place where they can go into affordable housing. So it's a stepping stone. Can't help everybody, but we can help those who are able to engage. And we just opened up everything with 318 beds, and we'll be able to help 4,500 people a year come through that. And super excited about the partnerships with Ron and the Vet Rest Victory Garden there and a bunch of other folks. So let's go next to Elisa. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks everybody. I'm Elisa Blum and my company is Elisa Blum and Associates. Good to see you all. We help businesses and organizations to select, develop, and keep top employees. And I don't have a big story, personal story, but the reason I'm here is because I really believe that the lack of affordable housing is the root cause of a lot of the problems that we're seeing today with homelessness and food insecurity. And so I lie awake at night a lot thinking of solutions. So I was really excited to see that you all are doing this. And I'm going to have to pop out in a couple minutes, but I'll be back in about a half hour, 40 minutes. And I'm just really excited to see what comes out of this meeting today.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Denise, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Stewart. I run a wholesale division. I do know Matt and Mark, and I'm on the advisory board of the BESThq. And the reason why I think affordable housing is so important is for people that don't think that they can qualify for a home, you might be mistaken. So reaching out, getting the information, getting the knowledge. For me, big price difference moving from Texas to Portland, Oregon. I was definitely in sticker shock when I realized, how big my house was in Texas and how much I could buy when I moved to Portland. But I'm glad I made the move 20 years ago because look, this is where everyone wants to be now. It's pretty dang hot down in the South.
So with that, we're going to go to my right here and invite those to introduce themselves. You want to start with Shar? Go ahead, and we're going to go right up.
Hi, I'm Charlene. I'm known as Shar. I'm retired from BESThq, but I'm not retired from BESThq. My thing with the housing is I live in a manufactured home in a 5 over community. And there's a lot of potential there.
I'm Jill, Ron's wife. Hi, everybody. Stepped away for a little bit. I'm actually working with Legacy Health now and seeing a lot of health equity issues in the system. So I think it's a problem that we can solve with affordable housing partnered with some health equity.
Thank you. And I'm Gary Williams. I'm with CoServe International. We do leadership training in about 6 or 7 countries around the world. Just a couple of quick stories. One, affordable housing. We had a friend, he and his wife were living in a trailer for about last 5 years. And we were able to flip a house and allow them to move into it with no up on the overall mortgage. So they're now living in their own home. And also we had a husband and wife that were in my father's house. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's for people that are coming off the street and trying to build a new life. They have been living in our duplex for the last 3 years and doing great. So it was great to see that. So yeah, it's great to be individually involved with affordable housing.
Joe Ramore with Matrix Networks. The reason I'm here is just a couple of reasons. It just comes close to home. I've always been looking at ways to try to help people, and for the most part, I've worked with a few organizations outside of this which have been trying to work on affordable housing and utilize, construction projects and technology to bring that to the folks who are in those projects. Because just because you have an affordable home doesn't mean you have the same utilities and the same access. And that's one of the problems that we have today, is that we don't have access to the technologies for our children, especially. So I'd like to help out with that.
Thanks. And there's a couple other folks that are going to be jumping in the scene while we wait for them to come over. And special thanks to Luis on the tech side, making it happen. He's a rock star, and we definitely appreciate that. I'm going to introduce for them who I can see in the distance here. They're going to be coming in. There's Michael Bergman with Incubator U outside on the phone. He'll be coming in a little bit later. And Diego Diaz with Diego Diaz Photography is also up at the bar, making sure he gets his pint checked out. So anyway, one more, and then we're going to jump into the program.
Thank you, Ron. Todd Kimball, a supporter of BESThq from day one, and now with BioModem, makers of a robotic mobility device. And in real estate, I was a realtor for 4 years, trying to help people with disabilities find housing. And my one real estate story currently is that I just moved to a South Waterfront apartment with my girlfriend. Very nice place, but unable to take a shower there. But it's summertime, so I take a shower in the courtyard in front of the manager's office.
Oh my goodness, there's a story behind that.
Yay, Todd.
Ron, we've got Mike Irinaga that joined us as well online.
Guy. Hey, thank you so much, Todd. We have a couple young men right here to my left that are producing as we get into the program. Matt and Mark, thank you so much for coming out with Vision. They're going to be our keynotes. Before we bring them on, I'll hold you. We have a brief note for the community. James, if you want to do the slide share, bring us back into program. Next slide is that just a quick note that we will indeed be having our next mastermind event. Purpose at Work is the topic. It'll be July 19th. Again, this series is the third Tuesday at 4 o'clock. This will be highlighting a great friend of community that Gary's been connected to, and actually has wonderful stories and relationships bringing, called CoServe. So Purpose at Work will be the theme. For those of you who don't know CoServe, it's an extraordinary international ministry with representatives from multiple countries, including Afghanistan, Ukraine, and a number of others that are students of servant leadership. So there'll be a very special evening. Again, July 19th, 4 p.m. Gary, good to see you here. And I'm excited to bring back the friends. For those of you who may recall, CoServe and Gary brought some of these students to BESThq years ago at our space on Beaver Dam, and some of them are coming back. And you can imagine, with some of the stories that we've seen in the news, in both Afghanistan and Ukraine. There will be some pretty awesome relationships to share there. So anyway, Gary, I'm excited to see you, and I'm excited for July 19th at 4 at our shared space at Tektronix. And the next slide is just a super quick update. We have our 5 purposeful projects. I'll highlight one of them really quickly as today. Happy summer solstice to all. It is the longest day of the year. And I got to say, I think the sunniest here in of the year. I think it's time to take off is it okay if I take off the little insulation for the next season? I think the sun's going to stick around for a bit. And there is one, these are our 5 organizations. Last month we highlighted at the SBUA. This month I'll highlight Verde Builds as we transition into summer. For anybody who has remember the heat wave from last year, there was tragically over 100 people that died literally from the heat. A group called the Verde and coupled with the Portland Clean Energy Fund have made available what they call a heat response. These are portable air conditioning units. This is legit. It's real. It's very, very important. Message me direct if you know of anyone, any person who may need an air conditioner, straight up, or an organization that works with what they call priority populations, which is over 60, living alone, or health conditions. Those are the priority populations. City of Portland is sponsoring this. Verde Builds is delivering those now. So let me know. It's the heat response for PSEF is the program, and they're doing great work. And I'm excited. In a couple months, we're going to be sharing more about their work on ductless heat pumps program as well. So good stuff. Okay, so that's our update there. The rest of the keep going. Side note: the one last item, the Metro Central Victory Garden, actually is there. It is right there. Is actually designed and will begin construction next month. So more good work there. All right, James, let's kick this thing off. That's about enough for that. Who's ready to mastermind for purpose? Yeah, let's do it. I think we're right on schedule. Look at that. Okay, so with that, here's a reminder of the agenda. I see Diego over there. Hey, Diego, you're good. Did you get your pint? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's Bergie. We already introduced you earlier, so you're in the program, but we got to get going with the program. So this is what it is. We're going to introduce our expert guest here with Vision Mortgage. They are going to bring perspective on affordable housing. And then coming at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock, we are going to break into session. So be paying attention, because the whole thing here is to actually activate our minds, share ideas. We're going to have about a half hour. There will be some questions that you can discuss and get to know amongst each other that you will then report out by group online and then on site here, what these solutions or ideas or answers to the questions around affordable housing are. Sound good? Let's do this. Without further ado, this is Matt and Mark with Vision Mortgage to talk about the truth of our current market. Take it away. Yay!
Hello. How's everybody doing? I guess everybody's doing good here. Okay, so can we go to the next slide, please? So obviously my name is Matthew Taylor. I am a loan advisor. It's kind of, we do business a little bit differently, so we don't like to just call ourselves originators necessarily. And this is Mark Charlton. We actually started Vision Mortgage Group it was last May, because in the mortgage industry, there's a lot that the people that work for you don't necessarily understand. So Mark had kind of this concept that said, we want to know a little bit more when it comes to what we actually do and kind of what we can do for our clients. And that was kind of his vision, which is not a mistake. That's why we kind of decided to call it Vision Mortgage Group. But Mark has had this vision again for quite some time. And we just wanted to figure out a little bit different of a way that we can provide mortgages, and not necessarily just that, but our services, because this is what we're passionate about. Because when it comes down to it, it's about our joy comes from being able to help families out. And Mark actually built his business by saying, if somebody can't do something for you, come to me, and I'm going to figure out the best way that we can possibly help. Which is kind of what our whole team has kind of gathered as well. So can you go to the next slide, please? So one thing in particular that we wanted to focus on was, obviously, COVID was detrimental to everybody. The biggest thing that we saw was small businesses suffered probably about, I don't want to say the most, but you can probably assume that they really struggled. You saw businesses closing, just everything was, the downfall for them just kind of gives me goosebumps right now, because I don't want to see somebody that goes out and just like this place, a place like this would actually close their doors because they weren't able to have customers come in. Now the other downside that we see is we see that in their taxes. So we wanted to focus on this particularly because small business owners have been kind of getting the fun and the stick from COVID and everything that's happened. So when it comes to the way that taxes are done and different things like that, they had to claim a lot of losses. Talk more. Okay. Can you hear me better? So they had to claim a lot of losses. And we see that so much with business owners right now because they had to make up the money somehow. And so a lot of the people that would come to us during COVID or even after COVID, they would say, we've been denied by so many different people, or we've had to pay $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in taxes in order to even show that we have income. And, Mark and I kind of figured out what's the best way that we could possibly think about doing something. And for us, we came up with a bank statement. And now some people might say, oh, well, that kind of rings a bell to 2007, 2008, but that's not really what we're seeing. What we're seeing is it's a more beneficial way for us to be able to positively impact those self-employed borrowers. Now, with these bank statement loans, we can go off of a 12-month or a 24-month average. And pretty much what that does is a lot of my clients, I can say, you can do your own calculations, or we can submit it, get everything done, and really come up with a pretty solid idea of what that number looks like. So for the bank statement loan, pretty much what you're seeing is you have minimal documentation, but at the same time, they go really deep into what money has been going into your account over the last 12 to 24 months. So those people that had maybe, negative income on their taxes. So some people I've said, well, look, I can't approve you for a loan because it shows that you make negative $3,000 every month. But it's because they had to shut their doors for 6 months or a year, or it's so unfortunate. So how do we come up with a really solid idea to be able to benefit those borrowers? So what Mark is going to jump into right now is a calculation that he kind of came up with on what it kind of looks like to use your money, or like use your small business a little more advantageous to get pre-qualified.
One of the things that I'd like to touch on is, and we can talk more about this specifically, but ultimately, because this is an affordable housing topic, right? As business owners, the best way you can create more opportunities for others to buy homes is to give them a place to work, right? You guys, by stepping out and betting on yourselves and building a business, you're giving the community opportunities for good income, so hopefully that they can purchase their own home. I mean, I hear your heart in investing in real estate and giving the opportunity for you to purchase real estate. Probably, maybe it did start in long-term goal is I want to be able to give homes or give places for people to live. But at the same point, if you didn't have a viable business or a partner in your mortgage specifically, you may not have been able to leverage that in a good way. And so what we look at is, as a business owner, how do we help you cut your tax liability legally and still get approved for the home that you want? Now, in this depiction, we're talking about home affordable, $1 million is the depiction I came up with. So not quite that affordable space, but what's scary is that's kind of where we're headed. You know, the average home sale in Portland currently is about 565,000. That's a first-time home buyer buying in that 565 range. So, and you know, the problem is that home buyers buying anything less than that currently are being beat out by investors. They're buying, you know, single-family homes, investors, people coming from overseas. So we want, you know, in the thread of affordable housing, really what I want to talk about is how we partner with business owners to give their employees opportunities to buy, and partnering with our employers, I should say, to implement systems that you can do to educate and to, you know, one of the things we love to do is financial literacy courses for businesses, because it's important. And I think that a lot of employers don't do this. You know, I wasn't taught going to school how to buy a home, or what was the best way to utilize my credit? What was, like, all of these things. And as an organization, like anybody that's involved with BESThq has got a heart for their employees. I know that just from talking to Ron and listening to all of you guys. And so we can talk about the depiction, but ultimately what I wanted you to see is it's very small. But you know, if you're a business owner making about $300,000 of income, which is about what you need to qualify for $1 million home. A lot of homes that are in that 4 or 5 bedrooms, you know, maybe in your second or third move up home in Portland, and they're in that $1 million price point now. And so what I wanted you to see is that the effect of buying $1 million home as a $300,000 earner and having to take the full liability of earning that. Because if you go to and I'm not downplaying any, or, you know, I don't ever talk bad about any other loan officers, but the truth is that there's really one way to skin a cat when it comes to loans. And it's really like, hey, what is your taxable income? They've gotten rid of a lot of, like Matt had said, they've gotten rid of a lot of those stated income, you know, bank statement, that kind of stuff, loans. But ultimately the bank statement loan just gives you credit for the earnings that your business is making. The problem is if you go to, and I've been this loan officer too, is like, well, sir, I apologize. You know, your tax return shows you made $50,000. Well, that's not true. You know, we made about $600,000 of gross revenue. We just had a lot of expenses. Can't you guys take that into consideration? And ultimately the answer is no, if you're going down the mainstream route. So in this depiction, if you're to qualify for that $1 million home, that $300,000 in Oregon, love Oregon, federal taxes, you pay about $105,000 just in federal taxes. The second piece of that, you got to love Oregon for this. Even though the roads are terrible, you still pay state tax of $29,000, 9.9% in 2022. That's the tax we're going to pay to the state. Okay. So for you to just come in, you had to earn $300K and claim that just to qualify for this $1 million home. What you would take on is a tax liability about right around $135,000. Okay. Bless you. What does that equate to? It's $11,000 a month just in taxes alone. Going to Uncle Sam, we're not going to get into politics, but ultimately, I would prefer as a business owner to see you guys invest that money back in your business, or to invest it back into potentially buying another home like Gary. Was it Gary? Gary's doing is buying another property that's putting a home over somebody's head, because he's created enough wealth in his life that he has the ability to do that. I love that. And that's the kind of stuff that these things are so fun to do. But in this scenario, you know, a mortgage at 5.5%, which is crazy. You guys are hearing these rates today. This was based off of on last Tuesday. So rates have adjusted a little bit since then. That $1 million mortgage would cost you $5,678 per month, just in principal and interest. That's not including taxes, insurance. It's a lot of money. But what we're hearing is these days, you know, interest rates are on the rise. You probably heard that everything melted down last week. If you watch the news, which I wouldn't recommend it, that's what happened. And that is true. But the interest rates are balancing out. We'll talk more about that one-off. I know we're going to have the breakouts, but But ultimately, in this scenario, yes, you pay a higher interest rate on these types of loans. They're higher risk. They're giving you credit for actual deposits in from your revenue versus income, right, that you're taking personally. But to qualify for this, so because of that risk, there's a slightly higher interest. In this scenario, it's 7%. Not too much higher than the actual average conventional mortgage right now. 6% is kind of where they're hovering right now. So a bit higher interest rate. The payment jumps up about $300 per month. Okay, so just for easy math, you're taking on $300 more a month in a mortgage payment, but it costs you $11,000 per month in tax liability to qualify for that home. And the mortgage officer, the loan officer, nothing wrong with them. They gave you good advice. They gave you great advice because Uncle Sam loves you, number one. And number two, this is the more conventional because we get so caught up in, so many people get so caught up in the rate that you're paying. Now, interest rate's important. Yes, you do pay more for a home if you pay higher interest. But I am on the verge of understanding that I would take a 7% interest rate, save $150,000 a year. That's a no-brainer. It takes you literally, it only takes 11 months for you to break even on 1 month of interest payments just by going with the non-QM loans. It's called non-qualified mortgage. So that's the depiction. Why is this important for affordable housing? That's kind of what we're here to talk about. Is that could give you opportunities, just like Gary, to buy potentially a second home or even more that could help another family. If you can sit down with your higher earners, some of your maybe C-level employees, if you have that structure that are making this kind of money, you can give them true advice on how to build wealth outside of just the 401ks and all the things that we offer. This is something that's near and dear to my heart, because we've been so blessed to learn these types of structures. It's allowed us to purchase and own rentals and give people opportunities to have affordable housing. Now, it's not just about them being able to buy homes. It's about what can we do to help our community. So one of the things that Vision that God's put on my heart is I'm going to give away a house here in Portland. So one of the things you guys get when you partner with us is we're on a mission to give away a home. We will do at least 3 homes in Mexico. That's one of my other hearts, but we're working on how to get that legally set up so we can give away a home in Oregon at some point within the next 12 months. We got to help a lot of families do that. And that's why we're here to really share with you, partner with you guys and show you there's more than one way to skin a cat, but ultimately it's good to get a second opinion. We love to teach our employers how to give good advice to their employees. There's just so much misinformation going out there. A 7% rate scares the heck out of a lot of people. But as the one thing we didn't talk about here is the tax benefit on that lower mortgage of 5.5%. One thing we don't talk a lot about, and most loan officers aren't educated enough. Nothing wrong with them to talk about this. On that loan, you had a tax liability tax benefit of $41,000 a year. So that's a pretty good. That's healthy, right? If you take that and consider to the $135 you paid to get that tax benefit, not as sexy. So on the other side of that, on the non-QM, you also would be receiving a $52,000 tax deduction. More than makes up the $300 difference, and you didn't have to pay that much money to taxes. This is all legal. This is all a real viable product. And the thing that I just want to leave you with is, sometimes opportunities strike at the door. You see a home, you're like, oh my goodness, this is the house that would, serves our family. But we didn't plan for our taxes. We just weren't ready for this. It's hard to plan 2 years in advance and make sure all of your taxes and all that are in alignment to qualify for the home you want. This gives you another option. This gives you more opportunity. And what we can do is then plan with your tax specialist on how to get out of this potentially higher price loan in the future, or we just keep it because it's saving you money every year. And a lot of our business owners, a lot of business like me personally, I will only do non-bank statement loans personally. I prefer to pay taxes, but my fair share is what I control, not what they control. I hope that's helpful. I really wanted to, I feel bad picking $1 million mortgage as like the affordable housing, but ultimately you guys are the ones that are leading the pack. When you bring someone who's just starting in your company, maybe starting at that $15 an hour, and you bring them over for dinner, and you show them, hey, It's not about showing off. It's not about this. This place is something that we created by hard work. This is where my family breaks bread. This is why we created this space. We can invite people in. It gives people a different feeling. Our homes are important to what we do as employers. So, and the other piece is I hope that we can help you save some money. So I hope that's helpful. We'll talk more about the breakout stuff, but I'm sure there's going to be some questions, but that's all I have.
No. So we're probably, are we just about?
Go ahead, continue
Okay.
through the slide.
Yeah.
Share
Into the questions?
Yeah. Good. Step into the mic.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I have what, 5 more minutes? Cool. Okay. Yeah. So a big question right now is what is actually causing this volatility? And I was actually talking to Mark earlier today, and I said, okay, during COVID, how many of you went out to the store and bought up all the toilet paper? A lot, right? Yeah. So this is what this is just for an example. I, like, my wife and I always go to Costco. We get it once a month, and then we ended up right when everybody was buying it. We ran into the issue of everybody bought up all the toilet paper. So we were living off of Safeway toilet paper. She bought organic toilet paper at one point in time. Very weird. So I compare this to the toilet paper pandemic. Because, one person says one thing and they say, okay, all of a sudden everybody needs toilet paper. What happens? Mass panic. What you're seeing right now is a knee-jerk reaction. You're seeing a lot of people that are saying, maybe the investors aren't as confident in the market that we currently have. But what does that happen? Now you have real estate agents that are worried about the market. You have lenders that are worried about the market. But why was that caused in the first place? Because that for those first couple people, now they just start talking, and now people are worried about this bubble that's going to burst. And Mark has something that he's going to say.
Well, ultimately, if you guys are on Facebook or Redfin or was it Instagram or Facebook and all that, guarantee there's a realtor on there that said, hey, the market's melting down, or there's a lender that's talking about the rates moving and all of that, and they're not wrong. Problem is our job as advisors, not people to just provide debt. We're advisors, is to be the calm in the storm. It was a knee-jerk reaction. The market moved 145 basis points, which, if you understand, it's 1.5% in essence in a stock price, if you think about it like that. The reason that happened is that the Feds make announcements. The Feds make investors feel warm and cozy about where the future of our, not lately, they don't make us feel very good, but where the economy is going. And this last week they were in a Fed blackout, which means they can't speak to all of us. They can't make their statements for a certain time period. And we had inflation numbers that came out, and inflation was up. So it cost, if anybody that's been shopping, as Matt said, your the CPI index basically measures the cost of daily goods, the goods that we use. So if you bought a loaf of bread today and you bought a loaf of bread this time last year, probably paid more for it. That's inflation. Okay, it measures that. And on Friday, that announcement came out and said inflation's on the rise, as we all know. No Fed statement to follow, so investors start to hedge through the weekend. They start to try to hedge against losing their money in the market. On Monday, nothing from the Feds again, because they can't speak. Everybody pulls money out of everything. Bond price, stock price, everything. Okay. When it really just comes down to the volatility was knee jerk because they didn't have the warm and fuzzy, but it also is what truly moves interest rates is consumers' confidence. Your and I's, our confidence as in the economy is where money, where are we going as an economy? If I'm confident, you start to see green arrows in the stock market, more money in the stock market, less money in the bonds, the slower moving money, which means interest rates rise. The opposite is true. If we're not confident in the stock market, people won't need a slower place to put their money. Bond price rise, interest rates start to fall. But because there was no soft landing for us, because the Feds didn't tell us anything, all the money went out, everything. So investors freaked out, and so did lenders, and they just started to. So basically what happened was they priced in the announcement that came the following Wednesday. So they knew that they were making an announcement. The feds actually stepped up and went 25, so a 1/4% higher than they had anticipated, which was the first time they actually went above what they said. And just to be frank, I know this isn't, I like to talk about good news. The reality is our prime rates, we should be in double digits to really stop this inflation issue. Probably not going to happen. That extra quarter was a nice move, but the truth is that we've got a little bit rougher waters coming. I believe that. But in my opinion, we're going to talk about the market. I don't believe that it's the housing market. It's not the housing market that's causing this recession. And a lot of the misinformation, in my opinion, is related to, oh, the housing bubble is this, the housing. And I talked to a client that waited today, literally today, to buy a home in Texas. They're buying $1 million home. They could have bought it in January at 3.3%. Okay. They're buying that same home. Now they're paying $100,000 more for that same home. And they're also paying $900 more a month just for waiting. There's a cost of waiting. So ultimately what we want to talk about is making the right decision for you. What is the right decision? Don't worry about so much as the market. Can you afford the home? Does it serve your needs? What do you love about it? All of those things. So sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
What he said. Yeah. Okay. So kind of what Mark said, we just want to focus on positivity, just because there's so much negative out there right now. And we can go to the question slide. There we go. All right. So for the breakouts, we're doing, what are you doing or not in response to the Fed rate hikes? Do you want me to go over these? Is that okay? What have you seen as the most effective strategy for affordable housing? And then the last one will be, what will you do to purposefully impact affordable housing?
All right, hey, let's give it up for Vision Mortgage. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. I'm going to slide in here, get cozy with you. You're good. You're good. We're going to get cozy here. And so if you can jump back on that slide, just so we have it here for share. We're going to go into the breakouts here. We've had a few other folks kind of slide in as traffic allowed. Right. So I'm going to quickly introduce for those here, starting in the back, Mike Iranaga with Stride Savings Locally, Small Biz Advantages. Christian Romero with Resilience Painting. Thank you very much for showing up. Diego Diaz Photography. Also jumping in, Michael Bergman with Incubator U. Just wanted to make sure everybody else introduced themselves earlier, but I wanted to welcome y'all here as we got into the program. So the next session, the next part is we're going to have a 30-minute breakout. I'm going to ask some of the folks here kind of in this section to join over here, maybe give them a delivery or two of your favorite beverage. And we're gonna ponder these 3 questions. So what are you doing or not in response to these Fed rate hikes? Thank you very much for the perspective there. Yes, I saw it coming. They announced them. It's just how it's twisted in the news. So it was nothing. It was just part of that challenge we have sometimes in watching the news and how things are rolled out. So definitely, I would agree 1,000% there. So what are you doing or not? That's a basic starter. Of course, you want to introduce yourself. Make sure you know who's in each of your groups. Next is what have you seen as the most effective strategy to affordable housing? And I'm going to encourage everyone to go across the spectrum. I've been blessed with the opportunity to be involved in the multi-million-dollar developments, as well as helping put together some of the safe villages, the pallet homes that are pulling people off the street, that full spectrum. And so I'll encourage you to be just let it go with your discussion. And then finally, what will you do purposefully to impact affordable housing? So what are you going to commit to? Feel free, if you're on site here, if you haven't already got your complimentary beverage, do that. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You'll roam around and get to know some folks too, and we'll come back. We'll see you all here in about 30 minutes. Thank you so much. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back all. Welcome back all. Hey, by my chronometer, it's 17:30. 5:30 for the civilian types. And great to have you back. So we have a couple of teams here on site, and then online, we're going to do the report out from that group at the end. And I've got my handy interview cam here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start. Which group is feeling like you're ready to set the tone here? Is it the group over here with Todd's group? Yeah, or you guys, Shar, you're looking like you're ready to really run through it. Okay, I'm gonna give it to Todd and company over here. They're gonna start. I'm gonna be on the rover cam here, and you can see with this, you can get a good look at the technology, the real epicenter of Best HQ right there. There's Luis doing his thing. And, we're going to ask each of these groups. I'm going to hand it over. Who's my spokesperson over here? Bergie. Bergie, take it away.
All right. So I am going to stick with the questions and kind of go through them. So I think as a group, what are you doing or not in response to the Fed rate hikes? And I would say probably it's not. And I would say that our faith is leading us, and we are praying that they don't go too high. How's that for an answer? So and then what have you seen as the most effective strategy for affordable housing? So we had a couple of two different parallels. One, Todd had a great insight into some of the things that he's experienced, but at the same time observed that there's so much unused office space in many major cities, urban areas, that you could potentially really maximize that space for affordable housing, whether it's converted or, but part of it, you have the ability to have space, showers, kitchens, but also kind of a community piece. But it's literally maximizing these areas that are underutilized in our current real estate environment. So that's probably the most, and then, things you're doing at Ivy Lakes with the transition, with the, some of the homes and the transition. Again, that's using underutilized space that was empty for years. And what I think the thing that we have also looked at there was how do we create a step system where it's like, one, it's to get people into that off the street. And then the second piece is to get them out of that into something that's going to be more affordable. And, I think we talked about the real estate laws, or what the zoning laws of things in Portland, specifically about, why wouldn't we create opportunities to have apartments being able to be purchased? If you're in an apartment for 6 years, you have a rent to own option. And I think those are things that need to be kind of addressed, especially in urban environments. And then the other part we talked about was, in the rural communities, there are definitely needs for affordable housing in those areas, but really being creative about the types of housing. You don't need the $1 million, $2 million riverside, second homes, but there are ways to have modular home, not necessarily like mobile homes, but like high quality modular homes that that can be built. And an example that we brought up was up in the McKenzie River Valley, there are several RV parks that just got incinerated during the wildfires in 2020. So, but the underground infrastructure is already there. And so there's opportunity to build back high quality modular fireproof homes that are, maybe 900 square feet. It's enough for a family of 3 to 4 to live in, but then it creates opportunities for jobs to be, for people like to go to school, have jobs, and then there's other things, and people just like to have, being up in outside of urban environments. So that's, that was, the urban and the rural piece. And then what will you do to purposely impact affordable housing? I shared a story again that was kind of parallel to the work I'm doing up at the McKenzie River Valley, working with Homes for Good, but also realizing that you need affordable housing, but you also need jobs. And so you need to create a situation where there's really great opportunities for people to work, but then they can afford to have the housing. And so having that bridge, from a standpoint of being able to have that, jobs, the creation, and then also the housing to support that is, one of the things that I'm personally doing, but I'll be pulling you in soon.
All right. Hey, let's give it up for Team Todd over here. Yeah. Thanks for the share, Bergie. All right. All right. We're going to pivot around here as we go by the Central Station Taps logo, which is really important. We have our team over here. This is Joe and company, right? So who's my spokesperson over here? The man with the pint. All right.
So we didn't actually even get past the first question. One of the things that came up and it was affordability, general affordability. And I brought up a point that we started talking about here, and I thought it was valid. I have a 10-year-old son, and who does Minecraft, by the way. Yep. And one of the things that came up is that when we talk about affordability, it's not just necessarily people who are low income. Maybe it's just the average folk who are getting priced out right now, right? And I look at my son who's 10, and at the rate of inflation, rate of increase of cost, he's probably not going to be able to buy a home when he's of age to get out, or we even rent in that case. So we have to look at also how rent, as well as you guys mentioned about the rental costs, but also ownership and how that's going to impact them, 8, 10 years from now. Because unless we start seeding that money, we start saving now, he's not going to be able to afford it. So it also affects our generations, 2 and 4-year-olds now. Will they be able to afford a home unless it's given to them? Because we've invested in that. So there's a lot to this equation that we have to look at. It's not just the present, but also the future here, that gap of how we're going to get there. And that's a lot of unknowns. And it'd be nice to kind of start looking at, how we can kind of not work the system, but work it in a way where we can build a future that is now more reliant on themselves, can afford things because we're setting that stage. Anyone else?
Yeah. Team Joe. Woo! Yes. Well done, Joe. I'm going to switch off of that. There. And I'm going to switch back over here, jump in, and I'm going to invite back in our guests online. Hey, James, you want to close us out with some perspective on affordable housing with our group online?
Well, yes, we did not have a chance to fully engage because we were missing Elisa because she had to step out. And so Denise and I took a short break because basically she's the expert, and I'm going to let her speak on behalf of our group because she's got some things to say in regards to this. So let's enjoy Denise's insights.
There we go. Thanks, James. Yeah, James and I spoke a little bit about these 3 questions, and ultimately I'm in this industry now. I've been in banking for 20 years, and I recently moved into mortgage wholesale specifically about 2 years ago. So I've really learned a lot. But ultimately what it comes down to is, what are we doing or not doing in response to the Fed's raising the hikes? Well, for me in general, it's about just having the conversation and helping people understand why that move was important and why we needed to really do it. And then I like to digress. So then I bring up the fact that, hey, don't you remember your parents, in the 70s, what they got it? My parents got a 17.99% interest rate and they were thrilled. I mean, I thought it was great. So we talked about that. And I think in general, it's just about helping them understand why we have to raise the rates so that we don't have an inverted yield curve and we don't go into the recession or the black market crash of 1929. So we talked a little bit about that. And then what are you seeing as the most effective strategy for affordable housing? Again, it's educating people. Power is knowledge, I believe. People just taking the first step and talking with a mortgage advisor, finding out what programs are available to them specifically for their situation. A lot of things that, there's 0% down programs that people don't know about. FHA has a 3.5% down. And then one program that I really think is highly underutilized that most people don't even know about or don't even ask about is the USDA. There are a whole bunch of loans that that whole realm is just, Mark and Matt, you can contest to this. How many people really utilize USDA and they know about that program? There's a lot out there, a lot of information. And then lastly, what will you, sorry guys, I have COVID, so I'm kind of have like COVID brain right now, but what will you do to purposely impact affordable housing? I think everybody's getting really creative in this space. And for those of you that everyone has a banking account, everyone has a credit card typically, banks use something called interchange. And they're getting very creative with how they use it and how they give it back. Every bank, every credit union wants you to have their credit card in your hand because that's money to them. They get paid through MasterCard and Visa for the interchange. So what they're doing is mortgage companies are coming up with really creative ways to give back credit unions. So there's a direct rewards program that a lot of people are offering now. And essentially what that is they're giving you back that interchange that you're using. And so on average, we have one called Direct Home Rewards Program, but it's, on a $400,000 house over the course of a 30-year loan payment structure, we're giving back $40,000. Wow. And by doing that, we're using that interchange and they're able to make a principal payment reduction. And then what we do is we kind of say, look, your rate may be 5.5, but it's really 5.25 because we're giving you back this, this direct home. So when you're talking to somebody, see if there's programs like that eligible and what you could qualify for, and leave no rock unturned. I'm telling you, get with a mortgage advisor. They're, they know what they're talking about. And if for some reason you didn't get a good one, you go to talk to Matt and talk to Mark, because they're really passionate about what they do. And they've been able to help some people that I didn't even think could get into a home. I said, well, good luck with this. And they called me back and said, hey, we got them into one. I go, what? Oh my God, you guys are amazing. So they're very creative and they care.
Outstanding. Well, again, huge thanks for joining us, Denise. I know you wanted to be here, but you're here. We're able to bring you in virtually. Thank you so much for the years. Hey, it's been awesome. Our program is wrapping here. We just have a quick reminder. Our next mastermind for purpose will be July 19th at 4 p.m. at the Tektronix Building 58. My head wanted to go to Minecraft, a Steam Minecraft night, which is a personal favorite. That happens on July 15th. That's the Friday night. There's still a few seats left for that. We've been doing that program with our current and next gen STEM and STEAM professionals for how long, Luis? 5 years now. And it's another hybrid event. So again, thank you everyone for making a point to come on out. Hopefully you met some good people, shared a little bit about your most important asset, your mind, and maybe picked up a few tips along the way. Again, special thanks to our guests from Vision Mortgage Group and for sharing their minds and their opportunities around creatively helping us all move forward in this area of affordable housing. Special thanks to James facilitating online. Yeah, let's give it up first.
And then I wanted to ask Lisa if you had any insights or feedback just to kind of wrap things up for us. Go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got back in later than I had wanted to, so I just heard a little bit. I guess one of the things that I think about is not just being able to buy a house, but and somebody was talking about the young people and the cost for young people, and rent is just so outrageous. I mean, my daughter can only afford her rent because she shares a house with 3 other people, and she was lucky that her landlord just raised their rent. He only raised the rent 6% this year, when most landlords have been raising it like 15-20%. So it seems like something needs to be done there. I don't know if there are ways to incentivize landlords to keep rent lower somehow. You know, they could get tax breaks or something. Then the other thing that is that I've been, for the last few years, donating to Community Action in Hillsborough, because they have a really robust rental assistance program. So if people are having a crisis, like a medical crisis or a job loss or something, and they need help paying their rent for a little bit, I think that can really help in preventing homelessness, because there are a lot of people that just don't have any other options. So a little bit of help can really, make a big difference to people if it keeps them from having to be homeless. So those are just the 2 things I wanted to throw out. So thanks for asking, James.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing there, Lisa. And there's a number of really amazing community organizations, some of which are showcased with our purposeful projects.
Mhm.
We talked about those earlier. There's a number of others that are offering supportive services in the area of affordable housing. So continue to connect and grow and make a difference together. We thank you all very much for showing up. Special thanks to my man, Luis, behind the scenes. Yeah, giving it up on the tech. We'll make this available on our YouTube channel, and let's continue to go make a difference together and purposefully be at work. July 19th, Purpose at Work at our really cool office at Tektronix Building 58. We thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.